Republicans want to do too.
Is unemployment insurance only an issue that Democrats in the country want? Do only Democrats want their kids to go back to schools? Do only Democrats want vaccines to be distributed across the country? We feel that he feels that package is designed for bipartisan support.
Pretty good answer from Jen Psaki today to a good question. We are right now in the midst of a disaster. It continues apace, almost 4,000 Americans dying just today from COVID. And we have underestimated this disease over and over and over again. Are we going to do it again? Well, the question lies before both parties, but particularly Republicans in the United States Senate, what they want to do. And so far, they're showing signs that they want to obstruct. So then what's to be done? I want to bring in two people well-versed on what's in store for Joe Biden. Heather McGhee, board co-chair of Color of Change, the largest U.S. online racial justice organization, author of the forthcoming book, The Sum of Us, What Racism Costs Everyone and How We Can Prosper Together. I have read parts of that book, and it's outstanding, and you should go pre-order it now. And McKay Coppins, staff writer for The Atlantic, whose latest piece is titled The Coming Republican Amnesia. Let's start on that, McKay. I mean, I knew this was going to happen, partly because I lived through the end of the Bush administration, where it's like, George Bush, who was he? Like, where did we end up on that? So I knew this was going to happen. Like, everyone's just going to pretend that 2 weeks ago there wasn't a violent mob that killed a cop as it tried to overthrow the democratically elected government. They're just going to go back to doing what they're doing. I wonder what the problem is. Here's what I foresee. You can't have bipartisan compromise if the other people on the other side of the table don't know what they want. And that is deeply the problem right now. It was the problem in the last round of CARES Act negotiations. They don't know what they want or what they stand for. So it's like impossible to even negotiate with them.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a problem for the Republican Party for a while now, right? For the last 4 years, every Republican policy priority was dictated by the whims of Donald Trump. And so that meant that they never really had a coherent plan. But now that Donald Trump is gone, they now even more so don't have a coherent plan because the Republican Party is fracturing. And they're not just fracturing on ideological grounds or political grounds. They're fracturing on what to make of the last 4 years, right? There's a faction of the Republican Party that remains deeply loyal to the MAGA cause and Donald Trump and basically denying reality. There's another faction of the Republican Party that would like to erase the past.
Oh, no.
Oh, looks like we actually lost him. Sometimes those just freeze for a little bit. It's part of the fun of COVID broadcasting. Heather, here's the thing about this moment to me, right? So it's very early. It's day one. The priority, the first thing, there's legislative text for immigration reform. That probably can't go through reconciliation either way. But the COVID relief package is urgent. I think it's popular. You're going to send people checks. It's endorsed by the Chamber of Commerce and Bernie Sanders. Like that, it's rare you get that. It seems like this is the highest possible ground you have to move.
That's right. And, let's be fundamental here. Let's talk about first principles. Government allows us to do things that we can't do on our own. And right now is pretty much the biggest, highest case scenario for when every single American needs the government to act, to control the pandemic, to address the 4 crises that President Biden spoke of yesterday. Democrats have the high ground. They represent 40 million more people than the Republicans do in the Senate. Their agenda is wildly popular, and the Republican Party barely has an agenda. And that which they do is barely even popular with the base of their own party. But what McConnell wants and what McConnell has right now, and the Democrats have not yet been willing to take it from him, is more than a filibuster, right? He's not Jimmy Stewart on the Senate floor, talking himself into oblivion about, representing the little guy against corrupt powers. This is a minority veto. This is a McConnell minority veto that is wielded to allow us to not even get to a vote on things that are so popular. I do believe that, people like Senator Manchin, who've said that they don't want to end the filibuster, can be heroes by bringing back the talking filibuster. This is the question right now. And this gambit that you talked about in the first section with Senator Whitehouse that the Republicans are doing right now is a reminder not to be fooled. Act on behalf of the American people. Democrats will say, what if we're in the minority again? the best thing you can do to not be in the minority again is to kill the minority veto and get things done for the American people that are popular. And then people will send you back to Washington.
And I will say John Tester, who's a Democrat from Montana, which is a state that Donald Trump won twice, in which he was able to get reelected in 2018. Tough battle, a hard state to win as a Democrat statewide. He says the same thing. We can't get S done around here. We ought to be focused on getting stuff done. If we don't, the inmates are going to be running this ship. McKay, you got cut off as you were talking about this sort of division among the Republican Party, but what the lessons are. It seems to be the one thing they could unify on is obstruction. The thing they can't is, what do you want? Like, if we said to you, OK, give us your counterproposal, I don't even know who begins to put pen to paper on that.
No, I mean, there is no leader of the Republican Party right now. And that's the problem. It's not clear who the policy minds are, where the ideological vision is coming from. And the party is going to remain fractured on that question for the foreseeable future.
What do you think? McConnell's play here, I think, is to retain as much power as possible. But I do think there's a danger of forcing the issue, McKay. I mean, that he wants to have this fight on, I think he thinks it's favorable procedural grounds. Like, no one knows what the organizing resolution is, so that he could retain this power. But there's a danger that he ends up radicalizing people like Joe Manchin. I think we might have lost him again. What do you say to that, Heather?
I think it should radicalize him. I think it should, take the veil off of this talk, this smokescreen about unity. We should be talking about people unable to afford to pay their rent, about, single parents dealing with just impossible choices and demands. Yes, in Kentucky. We should be talking about the widespread pain in this country that is from a largely preventable economic crisis and people being forced to make terrible choices because we haven't simply sent people money and allowed people to stay home and take care of their families and stay safe while the science caught up. So that's really the question. And I think that, the moderate wing of the Democratic Party has got their history wrong about where the filibuster comes from. It is a Jim Crow era relic. It is not something Madison wanted. It is something Calhoun wanted, as Adam Gentleson writes in his book Switch, which is like required reading for this moment. It's one of the many ways that structural racism is holding back the hands of progress, not just for people of color, but for everyone.
Heather McGhee and McKay Coppins, who's back briefly. And I'm not going to risk it again, McKay. It was good to have you while you were here. Thank you both for making time. All right, next, a liberated...
One of my favorite supplements is Nicolle Turmeric. Turmeric helps with healthy joints and inflammation support. Unlike regular turmeric supplements, Nicolle's superior absorption helps me get the full benefits of turmeric. Nicolle is the turmeric brand I trust.
Dad, something happened.
There are no second chances. And forgiveness is impossible.
What I can't understand is how anyone in their right mind could do such a thing.
Don't tell anyone. I can keep you safe if no one ever hears about it.
I have moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. Now there's Skyrizi. 3 out of 4 people achieved 90% clearer skin at 4 months after just 2 doses.
Skyrizi may increase your risk of infections and lower your ability to fight them. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fevers, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or coughs, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
I feel free to bare my skin. Ask your dermatologist about Skyrizi.
You wash your hands every day, but what about your nose, the body's air filter? Navage uses powered suction to clean your nose and flush out dangerous germs. And it relieves congestion without drugs. More than 1 million sold. Navage. Clean nose, healthy life.
You want to reduce stress? Shed pounds. Do you want to flatten your stomach? Do all that in just 10 minutes a day with Aero Trainer, the total body fitness solution. It uses its revolutionary ergonomic design to help you maintain comfortable, correct form. That means better results in less time. And there are over 20 exercises to choose from. Get gym results at home. No expensive machines, no expensive memberships. Go to aerotrainer.com to get yours now.
At VisionWorks, we want you to feel safe. And we want you to see yourself in your new glasses and think, ooh. But if you get home and your ooh is more of a you have 100 days to change your mind. That's the VisionWorks difference. VisionWorks. See the difference.
Planters is for the cravers. The crunchy, savory cravers. And the cravers that deserve something special. Planters Deluxe Mixed Nuts. Stay satisfied.
It's either the assurance of a 165-point certification process, or it isn't. It's either testing an array of advanced safety systems, or it isn't. It's either the peace of mind of a standard unlimited mileage warranty, or it isn't. For those who never settle, it's either Mercedes-Benz Certified Pre-Owned, or it isn't. The Mercedes-Benz Certified Pre-Owned sales event now through March 1st. Shop online or drop by your local dealer today.
We're excited to do business with you, but before we sign, I gotta ask.
Sure, anything.
We searched you online, and maybe you can explain this?
Can't believe that garbage is still coming in. That is so false.
Frustrated with your online search results? Call Reputation Defender today to join tens of thousands who've improved their online reputation. Get your free reputation report card at reputationdefender.com or call 1-877-866-8555.
First Leaf Wine Club is the best way to discover your new favorite wines from around the world, delivered straight to your door. Each box is filled with quality wines you're sure to love. First Leaf has hundreds of wines to choose from, and 92% of them are award-winning. Members pay only $13 a bottle, saving 60% off retail prices. First Leaf believes great wine should be affordable for everyone, and your satisfaction is guaranteed. Join today and get your first 6 wines for just $39.95.
It was a big day in the fight against coronavirus. President Biden, flanked by his chief medical advisor, Dr. Anthony Fauci, announced a wartime effort to fight the virus, signing 10 executive orders and invoking the Defense Production Act to ramp up the supply of masks and vaccines. At a press briefing a short time later, Dr. Fauci, the nation's top infectious disease expert, was allowed to answer questions from the White House briefing room for the first time in 63 days. It didn't take long for him to note the differences in his new job.
One of the new things in this administration is if you don't know the answer, don't guess. Just say you don't know the answer. One of the things that we're going to do is to be completely transparent, open, and honest. If things go wrong, not point fingers, but to correct them and to make everything we do be based on science and evidence. I mean, that was literally a conversation I had 15 minutes ago with the president.
You've joked a couple times today already about the difference that you feel in being kind of the spokesperson for this issue in this administration versus the previous one. Can you talk a little bit about how much different do you feel, less constrained? What is the, you for so many times you stood up behind the podium with Donald Trump standing behind you. That was a different feeling, I'm sure, than it is today. Can you talk a little bit about how you feel kind of released from what you had been doing for the last year?
Yeah, but you said I was joking about it. I was very serious about it. I wasn't joking. No, actually, I mean, obviously, I don't want to be going back, over history, but it was very clear that there were things that were said, be it regarding things like hydroxychloroquine and other things like that, that really was uncomfortable because they were not based on scientific fact. I can tell you, I take no pleasure at all in being in a situation of contradicting the president. So it was really something that you didn't feel that you could actually say something and there wouldn't be any repercussions about it. The idea that you can get up here and talk about what you know, what the evidence, what the science is, and know that's it. Let the science speak. It is somewhat of a liberating feeling.
Basically vanished for a few months there for a while. You feel like you're back now?
I think so.
Joining me now to talk about both the return of Dr. Fauci unshackled, as well as where we are with vaccine distribution. Lori Garrett, a health policy analyst, Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist. She wrote The Coming Plague, Newly Emerging Diseases in a World Out of Balance. First, there is, the idea that the way it usually works, which it didn't work this way during the pandemic, which is that administrations usually take the scientific folks, CDC people, wherever, and they just put them out there to talk to the press. That's usually how it has been in the past. It was a reminder of that today.
Yes, when in the past, in every prior serious outbreak or mysterious outbreak that we didn't fully understand, it's been the Centers for Disease Control, their lead scientific teams, Tony Fauci and his scientific team playing the frontline role, answering public questions and holding daily press briefings. Right. And of course, we've never had that in any realistic terms since this outbreak began under the Trump administration. So this is very refreshing. And I know Tony, and I'm sure that he is feeling like a lot of lead weights have been pulled off his shoulders, but now he carries a new burden.
Yeah.
As do his counterparts like Rachel Walensky, who is now running the CDC, and counterparts throughout the entire infrastructure of health in the Biden administration. They carry the burden of trying to save, a couple 100,000 American lives. We're currently on a trajectory that just won't work, Chris. On the one hand, we're managing to, our daily average is about 940,000 people a day have been getting vaccinated. At that pace, it'll take us 362 days to vaccinate America, which is utterly unacceptable given the current pace of spread of the virus and the arrival of these mutant variant strains that appear to be hyper-transmissible, hyper-contagious. So we have this race underway, and we've got to get this pace of vaccination vastly improved. But what are we seeing? We're seeing people like myself going over and over and over again, trying to make appointments, finally getting an appointment, and it's for the past, given a date that has already elapsed as my appointment. Finally going and getting a real appointment and be compelled to stand in line in 29-degree weather outside for 3 hours before gaining entry to the actual facility for an injection. And none of us know, will the second shots be there when we're ready, when our 21 to 28 days have elapsed? And New York just put out a memo that was sent to me by a friend from our subway system, the MTA, which is a high priority group.
Yep.
He was scheduled to be vaccinated today. And instead, he received this notice: COVID-19 vaccine hub appointments rescheduled due to a shortage of vaccine supply. All first dose appointments scheduled at a COVID vaccine hub for January 21 through 24 will be rescheduled.
So wait, let me stop you there, because I want to zoom in on this question, right? So in the first part of this, we had a distribution problem. There was sufficient supply, distribution was going too slowly. It seems that we now are, today we vaccinated about 1.3 million people. So the more people are getting vaccinated, we're now hitting a supply problem. It doesn't seem so much on the distribution end. What you said tracks with things I've heard from people I know who have appointments made and canceled because of lack of supply. So the question then becomes twofold. One is, 1 million a day was the target the Biden administration announced. It seems to me like that target's too low. If we're doing 1 million a day now, we should be trying to double or triple that, right? And the second of all is, what has to happen between now and the next 100 days to make that possible?
Well, the city of Los Angeles issued a report saying at the current pace of availability of vaccine and their personnel capacity, because, of course, keep in mind, they have a massive epidemic unfolding.
Right.
And most of their health personnel is busy treating patients, not available to do vaccination. So at their pace, they're saying it will take 4 months just to do the over 65-year-old population of Los Angeles. Well, this is unacceptable. We have to get much faster. But of course, the big difference that we saw today, Chris, with all the pronouncements from President Biden himself, Vice President Harris, Tony Fauci, and a assorted cast of characters, and 10 new executive orders signed this morning, in addition to those signed yesterday. The sum total of all of it is, we're going to go from having had an epidemic that was run, if you want to say it even was in an organized fashion, was run by the states, with the federal government being hands-off except to occasionally throw supplies their way, and for Operation Warp Speed to make a vaccine get manufactured. Now we're going to flip this whole equation so that the federal government's in charge and the states will be given clear instructions, priorities will be set, other prevention parameters, everything related to try and slow this epidemic down will come from the federal level and filter down. The only shortcomings I saw in this more than 100-page strategic analysis that was released today by the president, there were just a couple of lapses. One was they don't say anywhere that they will seek to actually standardize testing. And under the Trump administration, so many companies were given the green light by the Trump FDA to make various types of COVID tests, that the quality of those tests and the level of specificity of them is all over the place. And it would be nice if we saw some standardization so we know what the heck we're actually testing and what we're really seeing. The other lapse, I think a much more serious one that needs to get addressed immediately, is that our public health infrastructure around America is very weak. It has been grossly underfunded for years. In many states, they have just hacked away at local public health budgets to the point where people are using fax machines and Windows 98 to try and communicate and to log their data. And nowhere in the report does it say, how will they update all of this? Where is the infrastructure going to come from to make it possible for data retrieval to be timely, for us to not have a 6-week lag in death data, but have it when it really is occurring in real time?
Laurie Garrett, thank you so much for making time tonight. Appreciate it.
Always for you, Chris.
Thank you. Coming up, President Biden is cleaning house, wasting no time on doing some of the biggest debacles of the Trump administration, where they started just ahead.
The debit card and smart app designed to simplify family life. You set them chores and allowances, they start earning. They spend, you get notified. They set goals and start building savings habits. Plus, they get to customize their cards. Get 1 month free at GoHenry.com.
It's time for Sleep Number's January sale on the Sleep Number 360 smart bed.
Can I help with snoring?
I've never heard snoring.
Exactly.
No problem. And done. And now save $1,000 on the Sleep Number 360 Special Edition smart bed. Now $17.99. Only for a limited time.
The energy's here. I need you to be ready.
Coming off of that bike, and we're going to work that core.
Find that balance.
Nordic Track, the home of interactive personal training.
One of my favorite supplements is Nicolle Turmeric. Turmeric helps with healthy joints and inflammation support. Unlike regular turmeric supplements, Nicolle's superior absorption helps me get the full benefits of turmeric. Nicolle is the turmeric brand I trust.
What's up, America? It's your boy Ice-T. And if you know me, you know, and that's why I protect my babies with CarShield. I know a car out of warranty means repairs are going to be expensive, and CarShield helps get those repairs covered so I don't have to. And they can do the same for you. It's that simple.
We saved over $6,000 on a complete engine rebuild of our truck.
The dealership told me, well, you know, you have to pay for this. I said, no, don't have to pay for this. Why? I got CarShield.
When your car breaks down, you can take it to any certified mechanic or dealer, and CarShield handles the rest. Your show-stopping coverage also includes roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage at no additional cost.
If you're into throwing money away, hey, I guess do your thing. But if you're like me and millions of other people who don't want to get stuck with expensive repair bills, then call CarShield. I trust them with my car, and you should too.
CarShield covers most makes and models from 5,000 to 150,000 miles.
If your car broke down, could you afford thousands and thousands of dollars to fix your engine, transmission, or computer system? Most people would say no.
Without CarShield, there was no way that I could afford to get my car fixed.
It's not like the old days when you could fix anything with a wrench and a screwdriver. Now you need to be a rocket scientist. And when your check engine light comes on, well, that's game over. So show your car some love and give it the protection it deserves from CarShield. Tell them Ice-T sent you. And remember, CarShield cars go farther.
Make the smart choice and protect yourself from expensive car breakdowns. Call now for a free and instant protection plan quote. It's only a matter of time until repairs are needed. Call 800-977-0426. 800-977-0426. 800-977-0426.
With Oscar Mayer Deli Fresh, it's not just a sandwich. Far from it. It's a reason to come together. It's a taste of something good. A taste we could all use right now. So let's make the most of it and make every sandwich count with Oscar Mayer Deli Fresh.
Introducing Fidelity Income Planning. We look at what you've saved, what you'll need, and help you build a flexible plan for cash flow that lasts, even when you're not working, so you can go from saving to living.
Are you ready to get lively? With over 1 million already sold, it's time to get the No Bra Bra. Get lively for that totally free, soft as ever, not a single pokey wire. I forgot I even had it on feeling. It's the first bra you won't want to rip off. No wonder so many are choosing to go wire free. You have to feel it to believe it. Join the millions and get lively. Visit wearlively.com, where all bras are only $35.
Drain the swamp. We put it in about 2 days ago. I said, drain the swamp. I didn't like it. I didn't like the expression, drain the swamp in Washington. So I said it 3 days ago. The place went crazy. I said, you know what? I'm starting to like that expression. And now it's it's like trending all over the world.
So hot. Donald Trump's promise to drain the swamp was never a real thing he was going to do, as evidenced in that clip of sound. It was a good slogan. It caught on. The crowds loved it. And so when he got elected at the start of the administration, Trump and his strategist, Steve Bannon, made a show of being serious about it. 8 days into the presidency, they issued a drain the swamp executive order, which banned executive branch appointees from taking jobs lobbying the federal agencies where they worked for a period of 5 years after leaving their government job. Also banned them from lobbying for foreign entities for life. Bannon went on TV to claim they were the only Republicans serious about draining the swamp.
Mitch McConnell, when we first met him, I mean, he said, I think in one of the first meetings in Trump Tower with the president, as we're wrapping up, he basically says, I don't want to hear any more of this drain the swamp talk. Drain the swamp thing was Mitch McConnell was day one. Did not want to go there, wanted us to back off.
What an amazingly courageous and righteous warrior for ethics. That's what they said, but what they did was, of course, preside over the most corrupt administration in modern American history, with Trump leveraging his position for personal financial gain, rewarding his biggest donors with a gargantuan tax cut, as many of his closest aides were charged with crimes ranging from lying to the Congress, the FBI, to campaign finance violations, to tax fraud. Trump literally put a coal lobbyist in charge of the Environmental Protection Agency. The swamp was never more putrid. We all saw that. And after leaving the White House, Bannon himself was indicted, charged with, get this, defrauding donors who gave money to his scheme to supposedly build the border wall that Mexico was supposed to pay for. Federal prosecutors say Bannon kept nearly $1 million for himself. He was arrested on the yacht of a Chinese billionaire. In other words, he was charged with ripping off the same Trump supporters who had chanted, drain the swamp at Trump rallies. And so it was just so fitting, so perfect cap to this 4 years that in his final hours in office, Trump both pardoned Bannon for giving his crime of allegedly fleecing Trump's own most diehard supporters, and then, with literally a few hours remaining in his term, Trump, ta-da, rescinded that lobbying ban he had put in place at the start of his term. Wait, what about the swamp? On Joe Biden's first day, he instituted a new ban, no lobbying for 2 years after leaving the administration. Just one of many things the Biden administration is doing to reverse the damage done by Trump. It's a long list. The untrumpening. That's next.
Do you have back pain, shoulder pain? Fight pain with compression. Tommy Copper's top-selling shoulder support shirt uses targeted compression to fight pain in your shoulders and upper back. And Tommy Copper's revolutionary lower back support shirt and tank. Apply pain-relieving compression to your hips and lower back. At home or on the job. Support, relief, and recovery. As simple as getting dressed. Go to TommyCopper.com now and find out how to save 25% on the full line of back pain solutions.
It's either the assurance of a 165-point certification process, or it isn't. It's either testing an array of advanced safety systems, or it isn't. It's either the peace of mind of a standard unlimited mileage warranty, or it isn't. For those who never settle, it's either Mercedes-Benz Certified Pre-Owned, or it isn't. The Mercedes-Benz Certified Pre-Owned sales event now through March 1st. Shop online or drop by your local dealer.
Introducing Fidelity Income Planning. We look at what you've saved, what you'll need, and help you build a flexible plan for cash flow that lasts, even when you're not working, so you can go from saving to living.
Hey, Rita, with 3% cash back on dining, including takeout from Chase Freedom Unlimited, you now earn even more.
Then this is officially a takeout week.
That's a good choice, Rita. Bon appetit. Now earn 3% on dining, including takeout, and so much more. Chase, make more of what's yours.
One of my favorite supplements is Nicolle Turmeric. Turmeric helps with healthy joints and inflammation support. Unlike regular turmeric supplements, Nicolle's superior absorption helps me get the full benefits of turmeric. Nicolle is the turmeric brand I trust.
The energy's here. I need you to be ready.
Coming off of that bike, and we're gonna work that core.
Find that balance.
Nordic Track, the home of interactive personal training.
Showing appreciation with a perfect promotional item is a meaningful gesture that can be touched, held, and enjoyed. 4imprint can help your logo create moments that matter. Explore thousands of promotional products at 4imprint.com. 4imprint, for certain.
I love this photo of my nephew, but getting it from here to here can be a real pain. That's why I started Keepsake, the free app that makes it easy and affordable to have your favorite photos framed. So if you've got a special photo on your phone, download the free Keepsake app and start framing today.
MoonPod, a breakthrough in relaxation that's quickly becoming the world's most popular beanbag. Our custom zero-gravity bead technology acts as your personalized cushioning system. MoonPod is the most comfortable place in the universe. Try yours today at moonpod.co.
Being a patient with diabetes myself, I can say without question that the Dexcom system is incredibly easy to use.
I've had other systems, and I'm on this one because it's the best and because it works. It tells you at any time of day what your numbers look like. I can't imagine anything simpler.
No finger sticks. I can't say that enough. I think that's an incredible advancement.
The knowledge you get from the Dexcom is a game changer.
If you have diabetes, you should wear Dexcom.
A new president with an ambitious agenda. Lawrence O'Donnell looks into Joe Biden's plans for the first 100 days with Chief of Staff Ron Klain and Transportation Secretary nominee Pete Buttigieg. Inside the Biden agenda, tonight at 10 on MSNBC. With a new president in charge, Dr. Anthony Fauci is live with Rachel. How will the new administration plan to speed up the vaccine rollout, and when might we expect a return to normal? Rachel has questions. The Rachel Maddow Show, tomorrow at 9 on MSNBC.
President Biden has been in office for a little over 30 hours. He's already moving quickly to erase the stain of his twice-impeached predecessor. Yesterday, Biden ousted 3 Trump appointees. Michael Pack, CEO of the U.S. Agency for Global Media, who came under fire for pushing a really corrupt pro-Trump agenda with an organization that's supposed to be an actual reporting entity. Kathleen Kraninger, the director of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, who critics say was more interested in protecting businesses than consumers. And Peter Robb, general counsel for the National Labor Relations Board, where union leaders say he actively worked against labor interests. Biden's also taking action to overturn some of his predecessor's most harmful policies. He moved to suspend deportations for certain immigrants for 100 days, to preserve the DACA program, protecting undocumented immigrants who came to the U.S. as children. The president signed an executive order recommitting the U.S. to the Paris Climate Agreement. He canceled the construction permit for the Keystone XL pipeline. Biden's top priority is fixing the response to the coronavirus. He's already signed at least 10 executive orders and directives to accelerate federal action, including rejoining the World Health Organization and requiring masks to be worn on all federal property. Chris Liu knows firsthand what it's like for a new administration coming in with a lot of messes to clean up. Former White House cabinet secretary, former special assistant, and former deputy labor secretary under President Obama, and he joins me now. Chris, I wonder, as you look at the first 30 hours here and some of these actions, how they compare to the way the Obama White House thought about the sort of what was in front of them, what they could or could not do from an executive position in those first days, because I think it changed over time, particularly in the second term.
Yeah, you know, the Biden White House deserves a lot of credit for getting out of the gate so quickly on so many important policy priorities. And I think they've learned the mistakes from the Obama administration, which is not to wait until later in your administration to do these executive orders. Now, to be fair, a lot of these executive orders will require regulations to implement them. Ultimately, some of these problems we're talking about, whether it's climate change or immigration, is going to require legislation.
Yes.
But if you get these executive orders in place quickly, you start to effectuate change that then gets much harder to roll back later in your administration. Now, look, Republicans are going to complain about this as they always do, but Joe Biden is simply following the playbook that Donald Trump used over the past 4 years. And frankly, we didn't see a lot of complaining about executive overreach during that period of time.
Well, and also, I mean, with the interesting thing, right, that playbook was so incompetently executed so often. I mean, there was a kind of damn the torpedoes approach to these executive orders, but then they just kept violating, you know, federal administrative law and getting courts telling them, no, you can't do this. You have to actually show reasons and have a process. So dotting the I's and crossing the T's legally here seems to me really important as well.
It's 100% correct. Let's remember the very first thing, or one of the first things the Trump administration did was the Muslim travel ban. They signed this piece of paper. They didn't bother clearing it with the Defense Department, State Department, Homeland Security, all the different agencies that would have to implement this. And then the thing became unworkable. We saw all these, you know, confusion at airports. They kept getting struck down in court on the Muslim ban, environmental rollbacks, labor rollbacks. So yes, signing a piece of paper is incredibly important, but actually doing it right and then doing all of the other steps along the way to get it implemented is as important, because trust me, on a lot of these executive orders, you're going to now start to see Republican state attorney generals try to challenge them in court.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that's guaranteed, right? We will see state attorneys general, Republican state attorneys general sue on all this stuff. They've already announced they're going to do that. So you've got to have a solid case. There's also the personnel aspect here, which I think is fascinating. We highlighted this last night at 1 in the morning when we were on the air. But this battle over the general counsel for the NLRB, which seems obscure. It's like, well, I don't know. Why does that matter? Well, this was someone who the labor unions thought was just stacking the deck against them, wields a tremendous amount of power in a board that controls labor law effectively in the U.S., and who had 10 months to go. And this was a fairly aggressive move by the Biden administration to tell this guy to resign. They then fired his deputy. What do you think about that? What do you think of what it means to sort of take these kinds of actions?
Look, I think the Biden people understand that personnel is policy. And with the National Labor Relations Board, the general counsel is the person who decides what cases to prosecute, what cases to bring before the board. The board right now is a 3-1 Republican-controlled board. So if you continue to have a general counsel who continues to bring forward the cases in a way that harms workers, that undercuts the collective bargaining rights of employees in this country, you're going to continue to have an anti-worker agenda. So this was an important step, as was the personnel decision at Voice of America, as well as the CFPB. These are important boards and commissions that we don't often think about, but they can have really powerful impacts on how government runs.
There's an irony here, of course, right, which is that conservatives, particularly judicial conservatives, have been arguing for this theory that basically the president is the unitary executive, right? Like he runs the entire branch of Congress, that it's unconstitutional to delegate too much authority administratively outside his purview. And in fact, conservatives just won this big case that said the president can fire the head of CFPB. Well, then, you know, I guess it's one of those, you know, make lemonade out of lemons, right? If you got the power, then you might as well get in there and use it.
Well, and it's exactly right. You will hear some Republican grumbling about these personnel moves, but the reality is that this is the game that was set up by them. These are the rules that they created. That's the court cases that they brought forward, and this is now, left in President Biden. These are the personnel decisions that he's allowed to make. Let me just say one other thing, Chris. I mean, whether it's personnel or policy, what Joe Biden is doing is important, but let's not forget the real damage, the real corrosive impact that Donald Trump has had is on the decimation of ethics and the rule of law and the racist dog whistles and the blatant disregard for the truth and facts and science. And so while these policy changes are important, boy, it's going to take much, much longer to undo that broader damage that Donald Trump has done over the past 4 years.
Yeah, that brings us first full circle. We started the show tonight. I mean, the majority of House Republicans voted to overturn the election and hand the presidency to the loser. And as far as I can tell, like, no one's retracted that or apologized. That remains the sort of central single plot line in American politics at this moment. Chris Liu, thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you.
That is all in on this Thursday night. The Rachel Maddow Show starts right now. Good evening, Rachel.
Good evening, Chris. Thank you, my friend. Much appreciated. And thanks to you at home for joining us this hour. Really happy to have
Tonight, we are going inside the Biden agenda with White House Chief of Staff Ron Klain and the next Secretary of Transportation, Pete Buttigieg, will also be joined by members of Congress to consider the Biden agenda's reception legislatively in Congress. If you're having a liberating feeling right now, you're not the only one. Here is what Dr. Anthony Fauci said today after his first meeting with the 46th President of the United States of America, Joe Biden, and Dr. Fauci's friend, Ron Klain, who will be our first guest tonight and who worked with Dr. Fauci when the Obama-Biden administration met the challenge of the Ebola virus.
No, actually, I mean, obviously, I don't want to be going back, over history, but it was very clear that there were things that were said, be it regarding things like hydroxychloroquine and other things like that, that really was uncomfortable because they were not based on scientific fact. I can tell you, I take no pleasure at all in being in a situation of contradicting the president. So it was really something that you didn't feel that you could actually say something and there wouldn't be any repercussions about it. The idea that you can get up here and talk about what you know, what the evidence, what the science is, and no, that's it. Let the science speak. It is somewhat of a liberating feeling.
On his first full day in office, President Biden signed 10 more executive orders. Today's orders were aimed at the coronavirus pandemic, mandating masks on public transportation and directing federal agencies to use wartime powers to require American companies to produce N95 masks, swabs, and other urgently needed equipment for COVID testing and for administering vaccines.
Our national strategy is comprehensive. It's based on science, not politics. It's based on truth, not denial, and it's detailed. You can review this entire plan by going to whitehouse.gov. It is so detailed, it is over 198 pages and complete detail what we're going to do. Our plan starts with mounting an aggressive, safe, and effective vaccination campaign to meet our goal of administering 100 million shots in our first 100 days in office. We're on day one.
You will not be able to step into an airport or get on an airplane without wearing a mask. We will discuss those aspects of the Biden plan with Pete Buttigieg tonight, who completed his confirmation hearing this morning to be the next Secretary of Transportation. Pete Buttigieg will join us later in the hour. The Biden plan has many facets, but the easiest way to measure its success will be the number of people vaccinated.
This will be one of the greatest operational challenges our nation has ever undertaken. And I'm committed to getting it done. We're committed to getting it done. And as I explained last week, we'll move heaven and earth to get more people vaccinated for free and create more places for them to get vaccinated, to mobilize more medical teams to get shots in people's arms, and to increase vaccine supply and get it out the door as fast as possible.
Today, President Biden said this about the vaccination program that he inherited.
While the vaccine provides so much hope, the rollout has been a dismal failure thus far. So I understand the despair and frustration of so many Americans and how they're feeling.
Joe Biden is the most experienced person ever to take over the office of president, a senator of 36 years, working with 7 presidents of both parties before becoming vice president for 8 years. With him, for most of that preparation period for the presidency was Ron Klain, who has more relevant experience, including White House experience, than any previous White House chief of staff. Ron Klain worked on Joe Biden's first presidential campaign in 1988. After the failure of that campaign, no one expected Joe Biden to try again. In the 1990s, Joe Biden started working with presidents who were younger than he is, and it seemed his time for the presidency had passed. Full disclosure, I worked for Democratic Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan while Ron Klain was working for Senator Biden. There was a lot of teamwork between the senator from New York and the senator from Delaware, especially when it came to the Supreme Court nomination of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Senator Moynihan was Justice Ginsburg's guide through the Senate, literally bringing her from door to door to visit senators before her confirmation hearing, which was chaired by Joe Biden. By that time, Ron Klain was working in the White House counsel's office in charge of Supreme Court nominations. Ruth Bader Ginsburg handled her confirmation hearing perfectly, and I know was very grateful to have Ron Klain at her side every step of the way. My only contribution to the confirmation process was to give Justice Ginsburg my sofa in my office at the Senate Finance Committee during breaks from her testimony in the Senate Judiciary Committee. So yes, I am about to interview a friend. I feel the way Tim Russert felt when he was hosting Meet the Press so brilliantly for 16 years when he had to introduce Senator Moynihan or New York's Governor Mario Cuomo, because before my time in the Senate, Tim Russert served as Senator Moynihan's chief of staff, and Tim Russert served on the staff of Governor Mario Cuomo. And Tim was always able to conduct a fair interview with his former boss and dear friend. And he always disclosed before those interviews his previous service with Governor Cuomo and Senator Moynihan on Meet the Press. And so as you in this audience begin this journey with the Biden-Harris administration, I offer you one point on the compass that I know to be true of the two people working in the White House now who have been waiting for this day since 1988. President Biden said it yesterday when he said, quote, "My whole soul is in it." We will all have our disagreements with President Biden, and we'll have our disagreements with Ron Klain, policy disagreements, strategy disagreements. But the words I will never doubt about Joe Biden and his friend and partner, Ron Klain, are, "My whole soul is in it." And joining us now is White House Chief of Staff Ron Klain for his first interview from the White House. Ron, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it.
Lawrence, thank you for having me, and thank you for that use of that sofa back in 1993.
It was close by. It was the easiest place to do it. Ron, I want to go to something that Dr. Robert Redfield said today, the previous director of the CDC. He's disappointed with the language coming out of the White House now about the work that was done there. He said, "I'm glad we gave him," meaning Joe Biden, "a foundation to build on. Last week, we had 2 days when we vaccinated 1 million people a day. We laid a foundation for vaccine administration. I find it unfortunate when some people suggest that the vaccine program, 1 million a day, is somehow a disaster, but it will be a model when the Biden administration does it." Ron, Dr. Redfield said that you should be thankful for the work that they did.
Look, Lawrence, I'll be honest. I'm thankful for some of the work that they did. Thankful for the work, more importantly, that the scientists, the researchers, the people who participated in clinical trials, all the work they did that made it possible to have this vaccine. But let's be clear about two things. With regard to getting people vaccinated, the Trump administration had the vaccine for 40 days and got about 11 million people vaccinated, about 250,000 people a day. That's nowhere near where we need to be. That was their record. More broadly, Dr. Redfield and his team were in charge of this response for almost a year, and 400,000 Americans died. We've had, over the course of this past year, 4% of the world's population, 20% of the world's deaths from COVID. So we don't really need to relitigate the past anymore. It's time to get started with the kind of response. Most fundamentally, I'd say, Lawrence, what I think everyone would agree, I think what the Trump administration would agree, was they did not have a federally led response. They really dumped this problem on state and local governments. What you saw from the President of the United States today was his willingness to take responsibility, take ownership of the response, put out a 200-page national comprehensive strategy to get us on the right track to beat this virus.
I noticed today Dr. Fauci at the press conference was invited to share your rhetoric and to share Joe Biden's rhetoric and say that the work done prior to now was a disaster. He didn't do that. Dr. Fauci does not use the same language in talking about what's been done up to now. Is your rhetoric in conflict with what Dr. Fauci actually has accomplished himself?
Look, I think Dr. Fauci's done a magnificent job at every step of the way. He's been right. His advice was often ignored. Most importantly, we know he went months without seeing the President of the United States. His advice was especially ignored, I guess, during that period of time. Dr. Fauci is a doctor. He's a scientist. He's the best one we have in the country. He's not a politician, and he doesn't want to get involved in political disputes between administrations. What you heard today, Lawrence, most importantly, was Dr. Fauci at that podium telling it like it was, with no handlers, with no one editing his remarks, with no one denying him access to the press. He's going to speak truthfully about the science, about the state of the disease. That's what President Biden wants him to do, to tell the truth, tell the American people where we are in this fight, where we have to go, what has to be done.
Ron, the president talked about the 198-page report that you've prepared for him. I've got mine right here. He told us all to go look it up and get it. Of course, I printed mine. Ron, what I cannot find in here, is what you were just referring to, which is how do I go, how does anyone go and get their vaccine? There is no 800 number in here. There is no central single website to go to guide you to the vaccine in where you live. And so we are left now still with 50 different state approaches and then many different county approaches within the states. And I know very few people tonight, Ron, who know where to go or how to check or who to call to find where the vaccine is.
Lawrence, I think it's a great point, and we're going to try to build that national resource, that one national clearinghouse. Right now, we're inheriting a strategy that relied on 50 different approaches and many county approaches. And what we're doing is we're taking it over and making it a federally led effort. That still means people are going to get their shots where they live. But it means we're going to add things that didn't happen before. 100 federal vaccination centers open around the country by the end of next month. Mobile vaccination centers, so we can get to people in rural areas and urban areas. We're going to make it possible for people to get their shots from commercial pharmacies, so that people can go get their shots where they get, a flu shot or other vaccinations. So our first initiative, Lawrence, is really to speed up the pace with which these shots are being administered, the locations where you can get them. I agree, though. There's no question. It needs to be easier and more transparent for people to figure out how to get their shot and when to get their shot.
Ron, President Biden got his first shot on December 21st. Has he had his second shot yet?
Yeah, Lawrence, he actually had both the first and the second shot publicly administered as an effort to try to build more support and more confidence in the vaccine.
There is some doubt out there now about the second shot. On page 40 of your 198-page report, you say this about the second shot. The administration will end the policy of holding back significant levels of doses that will accelerate the supply available now to the American public to continue ensuring second dose availability on the timeline recommended by the FDA. The administration will hold back a smaller reserve and will closely monitor development, production, and release of vaccines to use the Defense Production Act as needed to ensure adequate supply. That seems to be the spot in these 198 pages where people are supposed to find their confidence that the second dose will be there. If I was waiting for my second dose right now, Ron, I don't find the specificity in there that I'd hope to see.
Well, Lawrence, I disagree with that. I think that what you see in that report is our commitment to make sure that the supply will be adequate so that people who got their first shot will get their second shot. Look, because the previous administration fell so far behind on giving first shots, frankly, it's sad. We don't need as many second shots this month as we should. And so we have more vaccine to get people their first shots this month. And as production ramps up, we'll be able to get people their second shots when they need them in February, March, and so on. We've got a very carefully coordinated program with the vaccine manufacturers to increase production and to stay on track to get everyone the first shots and then the second shots when they need them. And Lawrence, it's more complicated than that, and I should say in a way that should be reassuring to people. One of the orders that the president signed today was to use the Defense Production Act to ramp up the production of a very specific kind of syringe that allows us now to get 6 doses of the vaccine out of a vial instead of 5. And that DPA authority and getting those syringes made actually increases our supply effectively 20% as soon as those syringes are available.
On page 46 of the report, you seem to achieve something that Republicans have refused to do legislatively and that the previous administration refused to do, and that is funding to help the localities, cities, counties that are trying to administer this, that have absolutely zero budget for this. And it looks like you're using Medicaid funding to do that. It says you're going to use the federal Medicaid assistance percentage method to do it, yeah. Which means you will not need a legislative appropriation of money to do this. This will automatically come out of Medicaid funds.
That's right, Lawrence. And first of all, some of the money to do this was indeed passed by Congress in that bill that happened right before Christmas, that passed the Congress right before Christmas, was signed ultimately by President Trump. And we think we have enough funds to get going on this program. We're going to need more help from Congress. I mean, you heard the President of the United States, when he was president-elect last week, stand up and address the country in prime time and make the case for what we call the American Rescue Package. And a big part of that package is funding the next steps we'll need to pay for more vaccine rollouts after the first few months, to pay for more help for the states to reach the hard-to-reach people. So we've got some funds to get us through this month, next month, into March, but we need action by Congress now in the next few weeks to make sure we're funding the rest of the vaccine rollout through the spring and on into the summer.
Ron, I have a lot more I want to get to. On the other side of the vaccine coin, there is the economics and what the vaccine means to the future of the economy. We're going to squeeze in a commercial break here. Please come back with us. I hope it's not too cold out there in the White House lawn. We'll be right back with Ron Klain.
Comfort in the extreme. The Lincoln family of luxury SUVs.
With relapsing forms of MS, there's a lot to deal with. Not just unpredictable relapses, all these other things too. Who needs that kind of drama? Kesimpta is a once-monthly injection that may help you put this RMS drama in its place. It reduced the rate of relapses and active lesions and slowed disability progression. Don't take Kesimpta if you have hepatitis B, and tell your doctor if you have had it, as it could come back and cause serious liver problems or death. Kesimpta can cause serious side effects, including infections, especially when taken before or after other medicines that weaken the immune system. A rare, potentially fatal brain infection called PML may happen with Kesimpta. Tell your doctor if you had or plan to have vaccines, or if you are or plan to become pregnant. Kesimpta may cause a decrease in some types of antibodies. Talk to your doctor about any injection-related reactions. The most common side effects are upper respiratory tract infections and headache. Ask your healthcare provider about Kesimpta. Dramatic results, less RMS drama.
Doing what we love can be painful. Aspercreme works fast and lasts, so you can keep doing what you love. Aspercreme now has a new look. Same